wish I'd done it earlier and gotten some of those awesome show and tells.
I took some notes. All right, please feel free to keep adding and getting your ideas in there. I'm going to just start moving around the ones that look like they're done to group them in similar ideas. And we'll start to talk about what's there. So I might ask for clarification. It's fine if you write something and you want to stay anonymous and you decide not to clarify. That's okay. But I also welcome, you know, the more that you can contribute and share about your experience, the more you will help us all out as we are looking ahead. All right, so I'm seeing there were a couple things related to having fun, which is a really great one, and I'm gonna make sure they're already kind of near each other. Gonna stick them together. We've got competition. I'm just gonna pull a few of these off to the side. If someone, feel free to grab a blank one from the side if you're still writing and need more. Also just shrinking the font size a couple spots when we need it. All right, needing a safe place, teamwork. All right, we've got working together to solve problems and teamwork. Working towards a common goal. We've got stuff about communication. System. Productivity, right? And if you see things that you think belong near each other and want to move them around, please feel free to do that. It does not just need to be me. Meeting new people. Okay. Do I have something about people? Oh, up here. I'm gonna rearrange a few things over here. Just to so what I'm doing is I'm reading them, I'm clustering ones that seem similar, but that also looking for things that link a little bit, and then we'll start talking. Finding your interest. What is that? The stories. All right. And I also, please feel free to jump in as I'm kind of talking about how I'm grouping these. If you have questions or comments. So I want to start, I think, wait, do I have everything? I'm gonna move having fun into the middle. I'd like to put something in the middle that feels like a core idea. And I think a lot of times having fun is one of those core values.
I think having fun is one of the core values, capital C, capital V.
I'm feeling a little bit sad that there's this cluster on one side. Oh, I realize I'm not sharing my screen, so you can't see me moving my mouse. I'll highlight things. There's this cluster on this side of kind of learning from each other, diversity of ideas, of people, interaction between schools. And then I've got teamwork and learning from each other and working together kind of on the other side. But I think, in fact, that's like, there should be some kind of cool line that connects those. And maybe I'll get it rearranged in such a way that that happens. Stories open. All right, I think some of this stuff maybe goes up here. I'm gonna start shifting the teamwork around a little bit because I think there's a whole people arc here that's really great. I see that bonding with teammates while eating popping up. I like that. Because we had a session last week with the coaches and they talked about the importance of food in the experience. So I'm glad that something about food popped up. Let's see, there was something here. These kind of seem related. All right, well, here we go. We're getting there. We're getting a circle of ideas here.
Some folks are working on more notes off to the side that we should get on as well.
Sure. Let's see. Yeah, cool. That's a good spot for it. I like whoever put it there. All right, so it looks like most of the ideas are here. If you keep thinking of some or something's really missing, please feel free to start typing it. So what we have, and I'm gonna also start changing the colors to connect them with each other. So I identified and Michael seconded that having fun is an important core value of being on a team. I think there's then this let's see. You know, there's these a whole bunch of things about the people, and trying to think what color I want to make those. Let's make people green. Whoops, that wasn't the right one. Wrong thing. So there's this sense of connection between people, making friends. Does anyone have something you want to say about that idea, about why that's important to you, or maybe a story you have about, you know, something that backs up this idea of making friends being one of your values?
Making friends is one of my core values, because when I started robotics freshman year, I really didn't know anybody because I was new to my school. So it was definitely a activity that allowed me to not only meet people inside of my grade, but also people above my grade. And I'm still good friends with a decent amount of them.
That's great, thank you. So in blue over here, I started noting these ideas about diversity and differences, which I think, you know, obviously this is about values, and so it is the differences are appreciated and desirable. And so I'm kind of lumping all those together. Does someone have, I mean, there's different levels of diversity that's been noted here. Diversity of ideas. We are all different, I guess, you know, difference of people. A specific note about different ages and how that yields different experiences. And then different schools, the chance to interact across schools. Anyone want to say something more about this idea of multiple forms of diversity as being a value for robotics?
I wrote age diversity, and because when I first started robotics, I think was I okay, so there was only about 4 juniors and only 2 freshmen, and I think 3 senior. No, 1 senior. So when I was a kid playing like video games and stuff, I would always get mad about them losing, and that's how I first was with robotics. But then, like as time progressed, I started to realize that it's more about the experience and you getting a life lesson. So like with last year, we had about 9 freshmen. They were all getting mad. You know, that's how freshmen do sometimes. They were getting mad like the robot's not working, programming. Then they were asking me, they were asking me, how can you be so calm? I've been doing this a long time. When you do something a long time, the experience you get, the experience comes with it. So, yeah.
Great. So this one I started making in purple here, a few that are about, I think this idea of a safe space or support system to me really seems like the link between them all. I'm wondering what you all think. This one, Open Minds, I kind of made in a lighter blue because I think it relates to ideas of diversity. I think though it also relates to this idea of safety, that on some level, if if minds are open, it is a safe way to encounter different ideas. Does someone want to talk? Whoever did open minds, or anyone else who has thoughts about open minds, have anything you want to share about that?
I did open minds. I chose open mind because a lot of times when you do group activities, especially when there is a complex, when it's a complex as robotics, everybody's like kind of scared to say what's on their mind. They don't know how to say it to somebody or, express what they think because they might turn them down. And me, I was actually the captain of my team, and I was open to anybody's ideas. If it didn't suit the situation that they thought it was better, I was okay. If they wanted to change it, I don't mind being, honest and wanting to change certain stuff.
So open minds as like willingness to take risks, kind of, too.
Yes.
Cool. I'm just going to make a little note in that. Which might move it more squarely into purple zone here. All right, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff here about teams, which makes sense because that's it's what you're all doing in these, in robotics. So I'm gonna go with orange here. There is no scientific reason for any of my color choices. It's merely what I haven't used yet. Would anyone like to say something about this idea of teamwork, about what that means to you, maybe what's great about it or what's challenging about it?
I can say something. Sorry, I'm just going to leave my webcam off for the rest of the meeting because it's kind of interfering with me getting bumped out and stuff. But teamwork is being able to work with other people, even if you don't always agree with what ideas they're proposing. I think teamwork is, listening to other ideas and also being able to share your ideas without fear of being shunned because you might think it came off as stupid or irrelevant. Some challenges with teamwork is that some people don't communicate as well as they should, or some messages may reach some people but not others, and then as a result it causes conflict within the team, and that kind of destroys the structure of the team, which is not good. So I think lack of communication is a problem when it comes to teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else have thoughts about teamwork? All right,
I'd just like to second Naila.
Go ahead.
About the communications being the main issue with teamwork. If your common goal doesn't come off as a common goal, then you'll probably have issues as far as what the team's working for and where they're supposed to align. But other than that, I think everything works out fairly well. So as long as you have like open communication, everything should be fine.
That's very wise. And applies to all kinds of situations. All right, there's a couple here about communication, which I stuck next to teamwork because I agree that that's, you can't work in a team unless the communication is there. So I'm going to make it just, that's not very different looking. A lighter shade of orange to show that those are related to the darker shade of orange. I need to get stripes and like patterns and stuff too, because I realized that not everyone sees the differences in colors as well. All right. So then we kind of get into a section that I think is more about about the learning of content or sort of subject material and the work that goes into that. I love this one about celebrating our hard work. Actually, it should move closer to having fun, right? Because part of the fun is the accomplishment of something. Does someone want to talk about that idea of celebrating your hard work? I'd love to hear more.
So my team has celebrated hard work, especially after this year. So they took about a week to schedule a party for us. Well, not only for my team, but for our brother team too. So it was nice to know that despite all of the trials and tribulations, we were able to just celebrate and have fun. And then on top of it, the next week or month afterwards, we were able to have even more fun and just relax.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with Adriana that after you do a competition or you complete a mechanism, that is very important to celebrate it, because you have all these people working together and you finally completed something that you're proud of, and it's happy, and it's just a happy time and a good time to make friends and build those connections, because you can just have a group of people, they fix something, but if everyone feels like they contributed to it and everyone is equally proud, then it really brings people together and makes a team.
Thank you. So there's a couple things here about competitions, but not a lot, which I think, is, well, I don't know. I haven't been part of a robotics team. I don't know how much emphasis there is on the competition versus your weekly or, however frequently the team meets. Does someone want to talk about that? What a competition, what kind of value that adds to your experience?
I've met going to competitions gave me a lot of insight into other teams that are not in Philly. I've met people that were from Pittsburgh and other places like that, and it really gave me insight to what they do and how they do it. I still talk to some people that were at the competitions and how they are and everything. And I really think while talking to them, you learn about their robot and how they built it. And I just think it's a great value.
Thanks.
I can talk about competitions too. Going off of what Erica was said, I think competitions are really important, and it's like the best way to meet other teams, learn about what ideas or what their experience was like on their team, and then kind of compare experiences. And also, I think there's something about actually traveling to a different location to actually compete with other teams that, brings out like the best memories of robotics. So like, I remember, whenever I talk to my friends in robotics, we basically reminisce on competitions, in-person competitions, and how much fun we had there, how we always look forward to the next one.
That's great. So in that way, it also really links up with having fun, because that experience of traveling, of meeting people from other places, is all part of what's fun about it.
I have a follow-up question on that. On the card that was celebrating our hard work, I was curious whether folks feel that the in-person competitions at those events are doing that, are a place and a way to celebrate your hard work. Because when we were talking about celebrating hard work, nobody even mentioned competitions, which surprised me. So I'm curious what you think.
Personally, usually at a competition, it's always such of a time crunch, so there's not always enough time to celebrate properly, or either it's like after a match and everyone's like celebrating in the stands. But I feel like the real celebrating, it happens like when you're in your personal space where you can talk about what happened, say what everyone liked, and then celebrate with either food or just songs and just being happy. But I feel like that happens more like in your own personal space rather than a competition because there's just not enough time. Or either on the bus ride or to or from, because those are good times.
Gotcha.
And then the last, well, I guess there's really kind of two more sections here. There's this sort of arc in pink here that's related to learning new things, teaching new things, sharing skills. I love that idea of sharing skills. And then I'm including productivity and documenting progression there within this idea of learning skills. But I'm wondering if someone wants to speak about kind of anything in that lighter pink. Oh yeah, thanks whoever brought the STEM activities there. What is it about the learning new things that is of value to you?
When I first got to robotics in freshman year, I knew nothing about it. Literally nothing. I joined it because my friend was joining it, and I said, okay, I'll just join with you. And it turned into this thing that I loved. And then it turned into something where I thought I could major in. And without my teammates teaching me and me learning, I wouldn't even know what a washer is, probably where to put a screw. And it definitely taught me things in my life, like now, like I just had to put a bed together with someone who didn't know what a washer was. And I feel like it definitely taught me things that I didn't know that I needed to be taught.
That's great. Was it your new bed?
No, sadly, it was my sister's.
Oh. Do other people have that experience, a sense that the skills you learn in robotics transfer to other parts of your life, whether now or what you imagine in the future?
I agree, yes.
Yeah.
All right, let me take another look here. And then there's these two that I think are related, this idea, well, something to relate to, and finding your interest. There's always something that needs to be done. Would someone like to say more about either of those two?
Well, before I joined robotics, I thought that the only part of robotics that was like, mainly focusing on was actually building the robot. But I knew that I wasn't, the best at like assembling pieces together without direction. But I knew that I liked programming, so I thought there wasn't a place for me in robotics. But after going to like the first, I guess orientation or info session, I learned that it's not just about building the robot. It's also about programming the robot. It's also about you know wiring it, I guess, which ties into like electrical work, and also business, also like reaching out to other teams, writing grants, etc. So I learned that it's multiple things that you can find. It's multiple parts of robotics, and you can find which part of robotics works best for you or you're most interested in.
Mm-hmm. All right, does anyone, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I definitely agree. When I joined robotics, I mostly thought it was putting the robot together in itself. I'm not really a programmer, but I do it when it needs to be done. Usually Adriana programs, but when it needs to be done, you document and you program, and you learn all that stuff while you're in robotics. You learn that it's not just about putting it together.
All right, is there anything that someone thinks is missing from this? Like something that now that we've talked through everything that's there, you're like, well, there's this other thing that I actually also really value. Anything we need to add?
I'm actually a little surprised that nobody put that this is going to look good on their high school transcript, blah, blah, to get them into schools and stuff like that. I don't think we focus on it very much when we're talking about it, and I think that's fine, but I'm surprised nobody thought of it.
Yeah, another question that I have, which I don't know the answer to, is whether you feel that the work that you do in robotics and the learning you do in robotics, does that have any bearing on like the rest of your high school classes? Do you learn things in those classes that are useful?
I could respond to that.
Yeah.
I learned, since we're doing Java, it helps with comp sci, because going into AP comp sci for senior year, it's just pretty much a repeat of just doing Java, so it's real easy. So it does help if you're doing stuff like your mechanics class or your mechanical class, or if you're doing comp sci. So it to some degree, then it does help.
What about with any of the core classes, the core math or science classes?
I think it helps because, well, before joining robotics, I know robotics is heavily involved in math. So before joining robotics, I wasn't going to double up in math. But after participating in robotics for a bit and learning how much it heavily relies on math, I decided that it will be useful for me to double up in math. And also it will better prepare me for my future major, which is computer science.
I want to ask the same question in the opposite direction. Are there things that you've learned in your core classes? I know some people have got engineering or robotics or computer science classes where clearly it's like directly related, but what about your core math or science classes that you have then applied those skills or applied that knowledge in robotics?
Well, for me, I use world history as something to build off of that because when you look at history, you can tell that the stuff that we do today developed from stuff that we used back then, right? So it just kind of built off of that for history.
I use science and physics. A lot of the things that in robotics kind of go with physics, so I use a little bit of physics and a lot of like algebra, because algebra kind of fit into robotics.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Just clear your head, do what you need to do for 5 minutes, and we'll come back. Actually, let's just plan to come back right at 4 o'clock. So what is that? 6 minutes now. And then we'll move on to our next activity. So thanks so much and see you in a few. Welcome back, folks. We're going to move to slide number 2 in that file, and we're going to talk about barriers and bridges. And here, I think there's, the idea of barriers being the things, you all are already involved in robotics, but what are the things that might keep another young person from getting involved? So you might think about friends of yours, other kids from your school. And here I'll be the scribe. So you can just I like to call it popcorn. You can just shout out your things and I will jot them down. What are some of the things, and I'm going to add them into this brick wall. What are some of the things that you think keep other young people from joining a robotics team?
Patience.
Patience?
Yes.
Can you say more about that?
I say patience because I had one of my friends that when robotics first came into our school, she is not hands-on type of a person, and she doesn't really have she's not really a tedious person either. So when she sat down and tried to build the chest of our robot, she just kind of it's not technically gave up, but she just didn't feel like it was her style.
So kind of like her, maybe sort of her skill set or personality or whatever didn't really line up with what robotics actually requires. Is that
Yes.
another way to say it?
Yes.
If I might chime in, I think one of the issues is people have a misconception about what robotics actually is. I know that a lot of people coming in for programming think that they'll actively be programming on the team, whereas we don't have the space for that, so they might not be able to. So I think that might be an issue as well.
Inexperience can also be an issue. Like if you've never been on a robotics team before, or if you're like someone who thinks they can't do it, either because of their gender or because of other stigmas there are, then you might not believe that you can do it.
I'm going to separate those, I think, into 2 different ones. That the idea of inexperience, not having been on a team before, but then this idea that there are stigmas related to gender. Are there other things that you think people, like, I don't know, other personal factors that someone might think, no, that's not for me, in this stigmas category?
The big one is gender, and I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. You can go.
No, it's coming right. Okay.
No, it's just I was just gonna say that the only one I can think of is gender. So you can go.
I can think of an issue, or if you guys want to comment first.
Sure.
Honestly, for me, it's like a poor introduction. Like it took me a while to get interested in robotics because when I was going to middle school and elementary school, it was like the most popular topic of doing stuff with sports, like being like a professional sports player and all that. So that kind of like overshadowed like any other interesting topic that I didn't know about. But then when I went to middle school, my mom bought me these Legos and all that stuff. I started getting interested into it. So I think it's not really a known. Honestly, if you really look at it, I don't think it's really that known. Like robotics, engineering, and all that stuff. I think it's very underrated compared to other popular topics or interests that you can do.
Okay, just to make sure that I caught the gist of that, because it was a little hard to hear, that this idea of kind of a poor introduction to robotics and that it's underrated compared to sports, which is what lots of other people, which is what's super popular, lots of other youth. Is that fair? Is that a good summary?
Yeah.
All right, I see some, I want to just make sure I get these comments in the chat. Funding is a big issue. And thanks, by the way, for using the chat. I love that. So some teams don't have the amount of funding they need. Members have to pay out of pocket to attend events, and some youth can't afford those. That's a really good one. So it's both like how much money a team has to support, well, I guess it's really mostly how much money a team has to support the youth who are on it. All right, my bricks are getting bigger. And what's the other ones in the chat? Lack of knowledge, time commitment, traveling, time conflicts. Yes. Let's see. These fit in. Lack of, could you, Adriana, could you clarify what you mean by lack of knowledge?
So I wanted my friend to join my team, and she said that she wouldn't have mind doing it if she was a freshman because she doesn't really have knowledge of robotics. But she, granted, we were both sophomores and we were also both juniors when I mentioned it again. And she just said, oh, you know, it's a big time commitment, but also I don't really know anything. And I would have been more dedicated to it if I would have started earlier, but now I can't do that.
Okay. So a sense of like missed opportunity if you don't start early. Or what's a better way to put that? Too late to start after freshman year. Okay. And then let me get these time ones down. Time commitment, time conflicts. Is Samia, the one, your point about traveling, is that traveling itself is the thing that makes it hard for other people to commit to the program?
Yes.
And when you, is that like traveling specifically to competitions or workshops, or is that traveling, you know, to wherever the team is meeting after school?
A bit of both. Cause like other children have things to do after school, and there's also the competitions where they might not be able to come for whatever reason, or they just might not have the money to get to where they need to go. That's all.
Can I add on to that, sort of? This kind of combines with traveling and time commitment. So some people actually live far away from their school, so it takes them a long time to get home. So when you have to stay after school for a long time, personally, I always came home like around 6 something, closer to 7, and my mom specifically, she was mainly worried about me staying out very late, so she almost didn't make me, like, she almost told me to like pull out of robotics because she thought it would be too dangerous for me to travel that late at night.
And so I'm guessing that's something that's worse in the winter when it gets dark so much earlier than say fall and spring. Adriana, would you also say something more about the misguidance from teammates and coaches?
So I have this other friend, and he had joined VEX at our school, and he wanted to do FTC, but he was told that VEX would be better, but he had wasted his time, well, in a sense that the coach was basically like, oh, you have to come to all these meetings in order to get a spot on the team. But then it turned out after the seniors from our freshman year graduated, it was nobody else to run the team. So then the freshmen and juniors and whatnot, they were able to run the team, but it was like 2 main captains, and they basically just talked to each other and then eventually let everybody else in on the team about what they were going to do. And he felt as though he really wasn't involved in the team because he didn't have a say in what was going on.
Great, thank you.
If I could make a very specific comment about traveling or travel times, I know for personal experience that mentors from Central have a very hard time getting to their schools because of the SEPTA issues and various other travel-related things. So that's definitely an issue as far as that. And if I can double back to misconceptions about robotics or the stigma surrounding it, I know that there's a stigma, I guess, about robotics being only for like nerds or people who are smart people. So if you, that might be an issue for that on that end as well.
Yeah. I'm going to put nerds in quotes because we all know that that's not true. Or maybe it is, and nerds are fine. Anything else you want to add on the barriers side? Well, what I'd like to move towards then is the idea of, all right, so these are the things that block people from joining a team. And like maybe there's some ways that the coalition can in fact work to tear down the barriers. I personally think that's a good goal. But let's, assuming that the coalition can't solve all problems at once, this idea of a bridge. So a solution that gets over the barrier, that allows more people to participate, that makes robotics more inclusive, more accessible. And I think thinking specifically about some of these things. So let's say, for example, travel. Do you have any ideas for things the coalition might be able to do that would in fact help solve that traveling barrier? It doesn't have to be a perfect idea. And if not traveling, any of these, I see buses there. I'll put providing buses. It can be more open too, kind of what are the kinds of things that you think might make robotics more available to more people?
One thing that I would say is that personally for me, over these 4 years, I haven't seen a lot of like representatives or students come to like my school during the day and during the year. So I think that I think that if more like executives, students, and mentors come, then more people will be able to understand it more and not see us as quote unquote nerds.
Mm-hmm. So that's a solution to the idea of kind of stigma or maybe misconception. I'm seeing some other travel buddies.
Because, I can't.
Sorry, James, I think I can't hear what you're saying. Seems like you froze up.
Miss personally, or Miss Tech, can you hear me?
I think while James is frozen, is there anyone else who wants to chime in with some bridge ideas you have?
As far as funding is concerned, maybe we can host more fundraisers. I know that's kind of hard considering the current climate that we're living in, but maybe it doesn't always have to be event oriented. Maybe you can maybe perhaps you can come up with a product that we can sell to others. I don't know, to reach a wider audience, start a website. That's an idea, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
For some of these, it looks like the misconceptions or people thinking that if they haven't been on a team before, they wouldn't be welcome. It seems like a failure of communication. How do you think would be the most effective way for either the coalition or for individual coaches and teams to communicate to other students at the schools who aren't on the robotics team yet, so that they understand what it is that what the opportunity is?
I would say that it's just a matter of more like in-school advertisement and having people go on the announcements, either holding assemblies to make sure that people know that what the club is all about. Like I know Mr. Johnson, we were talking about having, of course it's not a newspaper, so just having more in-school advertisement where you have those people who are not maybe actually working on the robot talking about their part in robotics, just more in-school advertisement that way.
Yeah, I like this idea in the chat about hosting more scrimmages during the school day. Is that something that is a scrimmage, just this is my lack of knowledge, is a scrimmage something that a team at one school can do themselves, or is it something that multiple teams from different schools would come together to do?
It's a little bit of both, because a school can host a scrimmage for people to come in, or you can just scrim amongst like separate teams within like your school. So
cool. Maybe even play up the nerd label, right? Get all the other folks who identify with that. Other bridge ideas?
I'm not sure if this is a question for right now or for later, so maybe you'll just put a pin in it, Melinda. But when we were looking at the idea of robotics being underrated compared to sports, I wonder if we know why that is. Certainly there's like an information gap. Like everybody knows what sports are and has some sort of vague idea of how that works. But I wonder if it goes deeper than that. I wonder if, like, what is it that sports are offering? Like, what's the opportunity that sports are offering students? And does robotics offer similar opportunities or different opportunities?
May I answer that question?
Please.
Okay. So I think that going off of the whole perception of what is required for robotics, I feel like people think they need to be they have to have a certain level of intelligence to participate in robotics, whereas with sports you just have to practice and, like, I guess, build up athletic stamina. And also I think there's the idea of that a lot of people who participated on sports teams, they tend to get full scholarships to colleges, so that I think that's pretty beneficial, but I'm not sure if that's really known. I don't think robotics is really known for full scholarships unless you like work really, really hard for it. Not saying that athletes don't work hard for their scholarships. And also, I feel like sports is much more heavily advertised, especially in school. Like I will hear in their announcements at least once a day in relation, like whenever it's related to a sports team, whether it's soccer or lacrosse. But I noticed only one announcement related to robotics out of the entire school year. So I think the proportion as far as advertisement is really imbalanced.
I think that there's also a gap between popularity. Definitely, I think sports offer more chances for people to be more popular amongst their peers versus robotics. And there's also more of an outlet as far as physical energy, like being able to release physical energy. Because being in robotics, you don't release as much as you do with like tackling somebody on a football field. So there's definitely like an imbalance there as well.
When you are trying out for a sport, is it assumed that you already have skills in that sport? It probably differs sport to sport, right? Whether you're expecting to come with skills already or whether it's something that you'll learn once you've joined the team.
Not really, because so when you first look at sports, it looks easy. People who actually do sports make sports look easy compared to robotics. It looks like a lot more complicated. So I think people like try to find like the easy way out to find like if they like this, and I think sports is just that.
I wasn't able to hear that, James. I've been having trouble hearing you. I wonder if you could type that shortly in the chat. Would that be possible? I just don't want to miss what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I know I'm not necessarily needing to answer this question right now, but I think this is a problem that most other kinds of extracurricular opportunities have in relation to sports. That sports is just built up into a big infrastructure and like machine in our society in a way that, you know, whether you're talking arts or theater or, you know, I don't know what else, chess club, you know, like none of those other things quite have the broad social capital in our society. Yeah, these are an interesting kind of both James and Adriana's point, this like that sports is easier and maybe that everyone can participate, where robotics is harder and maybe more selective. Those perceptions seem related. All right, I'm gonna move us along to our last question here. And this goes, I think, a little bit to what Gloria brought up early on, this idea of how does, well, here I asked the question about the coalition, but really robotics in general. How can robotics support you as you're looking ahead to college and career? And maybe this also becomes a little bit of the values question, like what about robotics do you think is going to help you down the road? And actually, for this one, I'd like each of you to respond. So let's pop around again. I'm going to start with Justin, if you wouldn't mind starting and saying kind of how can robotics better support you as you get ready for college or a future career?
I mean, robotics definitely opens up going into the STEM field as far as job opportunities, and it does prepare you in the sense. For me specifically, it helps with programming, and it helps me just looking at different opportunities that I can go into. It's also good for networking as well.
And do you wish there was more networking than what you get now?
I do, but that's mainly because I don't go and do more than I should. So that's on my own end.
James, how about you? What's your sense of how this prepares for college or career?
Can you hear me?
It's a little spotty still.
Okay. Can I type it?
Yeah, sure. While James is typing, how about Maria?
For personally, I think that it's really good for having that experience of working on a team and something that, like a common goal that you can write for college essays and just having a resume. And if you won any awards or just were a captain or a leadership on any of the team, it's good to have that to write about for any college essay or resume. So it's just good to have that experience and to have like a leadership position or just a team member that you could say, oh, we won this competition. Oh, I was the co-captain of that. It's just good to have.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you have enough of those opportunities that you want, or would you like to see more in some way? That's right. Gloria says you can all write you were on the advisory council. It's a good point. Let's see. Adriana, what do you think about how robotics or the coalition can support college and career prep?
Oh, wait, hold on.
Sure.
Those big trophies.
Can you come back to me?
Yeah, sure. Erica, let's go to you. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. It definitely helped with my communication skills a lot. I'm not a big talker, and for me to be in robotics, I didn't have to talk, but talking to people really helps you get out there and learn new things. So you kind of have to. And I think it helped me a lot in figuring out my major, which is mechanical engineering, and helping me get out there a lot. Um, I've talked to people from different colleges that have mechanical engineering in their college, which helped me learn about more colleges that might have it and might have my major in the minor that I want. And it helped me learn that sometimes you can do a minor in business will help you boost your degree. With the coalition helping me reach out to colleges, I don't really think it does a lot of that, only because I haven't really had people like come to me or to school and be like, yo, we heard about your robotics team and we're from the coalition, da, 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 and we want to hear about you. I haven't really had that, but that probably isn't on like the coalition per se. But yeah.
But that's something that maybe you'd like more of, is like more reach outs from colleges.
Definitely.
Sincere.
My main thing about robotics has been experience, because I've learned how to like take apart robots. I'm not really that good at programming, but I know enough to a point where if you can ask me like what's Java and all that stuff, I will be able to tell you. In robotics, like currently I'm gonna start this back up in October. I'm going to try to get my IT certification at Google. So, I think that would be good for the future. I do agree with Erica because the only college I've ever heard that was really talked about and one that we visit last September, the year before that, was Temple. So I haven't really heard about other colleges like Drexel and all that stuff. So I think like having like a college representative go to like each team would be helpful and all that stuff.
Great. Samia.
Yes. Oh, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, sure. In thinking about the coalition or your robotics team, are there ways that either you already appreciate the preparation for college or career, or things that could be better to help you feel better prepared for the future?
It helps. Robotic helps.
All right. Naila?
Robotics really helped me, I guess, reach out to other peers who have a similar interest as me, because more I'm more so introverted in a sense, and I don't really feel comfortable talking to new people unless I have to. So I think robotics really helped me, I guess, be more comfortable with talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think having hands-on experience with, especially with programming specifically, was something that robotics gave me. Robotics really helped me with that, because I think it's one thing to learn programming by yourself or self-teach yourself, well, or be self-taught online, but you're not really programming for a specific purpose. But there's another thing where you're actually using your code that you wrote for a robot and actually seeing your code ran and put into action. And I think it's such an amazing thing to see, wow, I actually have the ability to make a robot move that was stationary beforehand. As far as, I guess, preparation for, I guess, college and college preparation or career preparation, I think it helps me with the, I guess, the mechanical aspect in a way, but not really with, I wouldn't know exactly what it's like to study computer science at college. So I think college visits, or like somebody else mentioned, speakers or representatives for certain colleges that's heavily involved with tech. Oh my goodness, I'm stumbling, with STEM. I think that would be nice, because you get to see outside of your high school robotics team what it's like to work in STEM, not just while you're studying it in college, but also when it's time for you to pick a career, what it will be like to take the skills that you learn on your high school robotics team and apply it after you graduate.
Great. Did I get everyone? Was there someone I was coming back to? Who was I coming back to?
So we should
Adriana, are you ready yet?
Yes. So the coalition did help me learn that different companies were interested in at least funding for robotics teams. And I could try to see if those companies are interested in hiring somebody, well, after I finish college, somebody who's interested in engineering. And one thing I wish the coalition would have done better at would have been to teach people in a structured way of the different fundamentals of robotics, like doing a notebook, coding, building a robot. Granted, the workshops did try to do that, but it wasn't as structured as I wanted it to be, because I feel as though if you didn't have previous knowledge on what was actually happening, you kind of would have been lost.
And James had messaged me saying it's a really cool fallback in case your original plan doesn't work out.
And Samia, did you have more that you wanted to say before your mic went out?
Mm. All right, thanks, Naila, for that one in the chat about apprenticeships or internships. I'll give that a little boost there. All right, so gonna give a bit of a pause in case there are any additional, oh, did I freeze up? I froze up, sorry. Am I back now?
You're back.
Okay. I think we can just move towards wrapping things up, but I just want to leave a little more time and space in case anyone has any additional things you want to share about kind of anything that we've talked about so far, something that maybe is still like ringing around in your ears that you want to share.
The sponsorships that Adriana talked about, you don't really know about the sponsorships and how to get them until you're about 3 or 2 years in. Like when you're a freshman, you don't really know about that. You're like, wow, people sponsor us. Like, how do we get the sponsorships? Do they have to come to us? Do we have to come to them? And I feel like the coalition should have a better explaining of that too.
Great.
So for those of you who have schools that have gotten mentors from the Navy or the DoD, how well do you know your mentors and what they do?
I know with Andrew, I'm not really that deep into what he does. I know that he does work the DoD and Navy. He does a lot of math, science, and engineering. But other than that, I'm not really sure what his like daily day or daily week really consists of, other than doing other than helping us with the robot.
What about the rest of you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so for me, one of my mentors, his name is Mr. Wolf. He also works at DoD and is involved with the Navy. As far as I know, he does like biomimicry. They like when he has like people that he works with. Some of the people that he works with, they like take ideas from animals and then they like engineer it through the stuff that they have that we don't. Something like that. I've only met him twice. To be honest, I don't really know him that well.
Yeah, and Gloria, I mean, I know a bunch of the Navy guys, and I have been to their Engineers Week open house down at the Navy Yard with students 4 or 5 times. And I don't really think I know what they do on like a day-to-day, because even at that open house, it's like they're putting on a show for us more than they are like showing us what they are actually doing day to day.
And I guess it just, do you guys feel it would be helpful to have that, since these are people who are already connected with the teams, to have that insight? Would that be useful? Nobody cares. Great.
Oh, am I back now? I keep freezing up. Or rather, it looks like all of you freeze up, but I'm assuming that's me, not you.
Yep, you're back now.
Okay, good. All right, well, I really thank you all again for your time today and your thoughts and ideas. This is not the end of the conversation. As I understand it, you all are going to be part of a student advisory council going forward, so you're going to have lots more chances to bring your ideas to the coalition to help really elevate what's happening in robotics for Philly schools. And I'm so excited that you're all going to be part of that. I want to close us out today with a closing circle where just think about a word or a short phrase of something that you're going to take away from today's session and share it with everyone. You don't have to explain it, just what's your word or phrase that's your takeaway today. And I'm going to, we'll pass it around to each other again. I'm going to make Gloria start this time.
Oh no, that's because I went last time, huh? So I guess one of my big takeaways is that students would like to have more college physics career people talking to them, a little more knowledge of that outside aspect of what's going to happen besides the team, after the team. Oh, let's see, Justin.
I guess hopeful. There's a lot of hope for the future, and I think it's looking good. So hopefully down the line, everything will work itself out. Let's go with Maria then.
Something I take away is being prepared, because all this advisory council is to be prepared for the future, and everything that we want to do is prepare each other and students for the future, and just prepare each other for what is to come. I'm so sorry. Adriana?
I said improvement because you can always improve to be better at whatever you do. Sincere?
My word is grateful, because I think a lot of us can agree that without this, we wouldn't have like a lot of knowledge and experience when it comes to like the STEM field. Samia?
Mine is, I would say, thinking outside the box. This is more so for the people that doesn't think they can fit into a group of robotics, or think that it's just for nerds, because I think it's for everybody, but it's for those things.
Let's bump to Erica.
I would definitely say my phrase is teaching and learning, because as I'm learning these new things going forward with the advisory council and learning people's opinions, I'm definitely teaching other people about these opinions and about robotics and learning how to build and program and everything. So definitely teaching and learning.
James? James put communication in the chat. Let's see, who else? Naila?
Expansion and outreach, because we are discussing different ideas on how to include even more people and get more people interested in robotics. And also we're reaching out towards other opportunities outside of high school that can help us in the future. Mr. Johnson?
I am feeling inspired and sort of re-energized by this conversation and hearing all of your wonderfully thoughtful thoughts. And I felt, my whole life and career is working with students, and I felt so disconnected since schools closed in March. And thank you everybody for spending these couple hours with us and inspiring me to keep at this work for all of you. Are we back to
And
Melinda?
on that note, I guess I'll say my word is grateful. I really appreciate gratitude practices and the idea of taking moments to be thankful. And I'm just so thankful for each of you to share your time and your ideas. It's so valuable, and I'm so appreciative. So thank you very, very much. And I will send you off hoping you have a wonderful rest of your evening and that the new school year treats you well. So take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye, thanks.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.